Just like having relevant and accurate information is necessary to make sound hiring and lending decisions, being engaged in our community is important. DataFax is proud to support the positives and be a sponsor of The Spark.
Lipscomb and Pitts Insurance has been serving the Mid-South since 1954. We've always focused on supporting our community and believed in promoting the positives, encouraging engagement, and leading by example. Lipscomb and Pitts is proud to be a presenting sponsor of The Spark.
Additional funding for The Spark is provided by Christian Brothers University, Mueller Industries, MyTown Movers, MyTown Roofing, MyTown Miracles, and by Serves.
This month on The Spark, our theme is A Thread of Community Advisors. We'll learn more about an organization working to transform South Memphis through the empowerment of local adults, a nonprofit providing civil legal services to those with limited means and those at risk, and a company specializing in commercial real estate services with a heart for helping nonprofits and serving our city. We'll also share a special moment from our Spark Awards 2016. Ever been excited by a new idea? Inspired by watching someone lead by example? When we talk about creating change, we start by sharing the stories of everyday heroes making a difference in their own way so we can learn and do the same. This truth is the power behind this show, which is focused on business and community leaders who are leading by example to give back, fuel change, and create new opportunities for the Mid-South. I'm Jeremy Park, and this is The Spark. They're a nonprofit working to transform South Memphis through the empowerment of local adults. I'm here with the Executive Director of Advance Memphis, Steve Nash, and a program graduate who's also a full-time employee at First Evan, Gerald Scott. Let's start with you, Steve, and give us a little bit of history for Advance Memphis.
Sure. Back in May of 1999, I left my job in sales and started Advance from scratch. Being a member of Second Pres, I was asking my pastor, Sandy Wilson at the time, for counsel on just vocational change, and through that process decided to give Advance a go. So we started focusing on neighbors that lived in 38126 zip code, and we were supporting them with knowledge and resources and skills to be economically self-sufficient through the gospel of Jesus Christ. So what that looks like is going out in the neighborhood, going to the corner store, going door to door again and again, meeting my neighbor, introducing myself again and again. And so built relationships and would listen. And out of that listening, found men and women that were looking for a job. And so began to connect them through relationships that I had with the business community in our city. And so then all of a sudden realized we need to sit still and kind of look at what does God's word say about work, and let's look at interviewing and conflict resolution. And so we started Jobs for Life. And Gerald is a graduate of that. That class now is called Work Life. And it's a soft skills job training class. Then we would move into how do you manage money? And so as a church teaches a stewardship class, we taught faith and finance, so looking at how to manage money. Then asset accumulation is important. We've got a great divide, and we've got a lot of history as to why it is what it is, but trying to build assets and wealth, so we started individual development accounts. So for every dollar that's saved from earned income, we'll match it 2 to 1 to purchase an asset, a car, house, post-secondary education, or start a small business. So in starting a small business, that takes us into Launch, which is our entrepreneurship class, which we teach twice a year. We've got over 50 graduates that have a small business that are up and supplementing their income. And some of those small businesses are beginning to employ our neighbors. So we're actually creating jobs. And so that's wonderful. As well as we've got 3 of those entrepreneurs that are now tenants. So nice. We are now got a little, our warehouse that we owned that we bought 2 years ago this July. We have 2 tenants in there that are graduates, and then one that's actually in our office Marilyn has a commercial cleaning business. So the other things that we do is education is important. So we work on getting the HiSET, the GED. And so we have been, last year I think we had 15 adults accomplish that, and so we continue to work on that.
And give us an idea, kind of paint that picture when you talk about the warehouse, the work. Give us an idea or maybe an example of some of the stuff that you do.
Sure. Well, the Church Health Center has outsourced all of the curriculum and the books that Dr. Morris has written, and so we're now able to do pick, pack, and ship. Mahaffey Tent Company, when they took down Memphis in May, brought the tents. That allowed us to clean the tents so that they can be rented again. You have a company out of South Carolina, Sorbet Green, and it's an absorbent for oil that FedEx and United Airlines buys. Well, I got introduced to that because they were a customer of New Tech Packaging in Binghamton. Things changed real estate-wise, and now that's allowing Junior today to work, and so it's creating, employment there.
Well, let's jump over, Gerald, on your end to talk about your story. As I mentioned, you're a graduate of the program, so talk about your experience going through the program, how you connected with Advance Memphis to begin with, but just share a little bit of your story.
I came through a friend in 2010, and I've been with Advance Memphis for 7 years, and I've been working full-time for the church for 2 years. I came on drugs, alcoholic, but now 6 years clean through the grace of God, through working through Advance Memphis, going through Advance Memphis, and learn all about Jesus. I opened the IDA program with him, and I got me a car, so now I'm saving for a truck now to open up my own little small business now.
So Steve, talk about how we can help. I think, you've got the success story right here in person.
Sure.
As you mentioned, you've got everything from financial literacy, the job force training, entrepreneurship, even helping them to save money, to buy cars, to buy homes, matching funds. I mean, there's a lot going on with Advance Memphis. How can we help?
I think volunteers and relationships, we're very relational. So whether that be you opening up your business network to us to help us connect with employment, whether you get into a relationship with a student who's in class, those are pieces that are really impactful. Also, if you're a business owner and you have stuff that you can outsource to us, to our warehouse, that allows us to create work in the neighborhood, which helps with transportation and gets over that obstacle, as well as it allows us to work on some of our skills to go back out into the marketplace where we may not have been successful, so kind of a sheltered shop. So if we can find more work that we can outsource, into the warehouse, that's very helpful.
Well, the last one's always the fun and the easy one is, how do viewers learn more? Where do you direct them for the website, social media? Where do you direct them?
Sure. If you'll go to advancememphis.org, you'll hit our website.
Well, Steve, Gerald, thanks for all you do. Appreciate you coming on the show and sharing. Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
They're a nonprofit providing civil legal services for those with limited means and at risk. I'm here with a shareholder for Baker Donaldson. He's a board member and volunteer with Community Legal Center, Matt Mulqueen. And let's start, Community Legal Center, give us a little bit of the history for the organization, and then we'll dive into what you guys actually do.
Sure. So the CLC, as we call it, has been around for about 25 years. And it serves really a much needed gap in the community for the provision of legal services. There are, as there are around the country, sources for federally funded legal aid here in Memphis. We serve the gap between those who are actually in poverty and those who make less than a living wage. So for a family of 4, for example, it would be salary underneath $54,000. So about the same population that the Church Health Center, for example, serves in Memphis.
And I mentioned civil legal services, so talk about the different types of cases and what you guys actually kind of help out with.
Sure. So we handled probably about 4,000 calls last year and ended up helping about 2,000 plus of those. And we help them through a variety of means. So we have a pro se divorce clinic that we hold at the court in Shelby County each day. We have an immigration justice program, and that's about half of what we do. We also have an elder abuse and care program where we might help people with conservatorships or guardianships. And then we also do your typical run-of-the-mill contract commercial disputes.
I know that, for instance, landlord disputes. I know there was a very successful one where a woman had paid $3,000 to get a car, but the car dealership didn't deliver the car, and you guys were able to step in and make sure that she got her car. So little things like that you might take for granted, but these are immensely helping these individuals and families.
Absolutely. We often cite to a study from 2015 that showed that for every $1 that you spend on legal aid in Tennessee, you get about $11 of economic benefit.
Wow.
And you can easily see that when you look at that kind of case example. So that was a client who was a nurse, worked in the kitchen in a nursing home, and she needed a car to get to work. So she went to a used car lot on Summer Avenue, bought a car for about $3,000. And they told her, all right, well, we have to make some repairs and then we'll deliver this car to you. And they never did. So she came to the CLC, She wouldn't have been able to afford an attorney otherwise. And we helped her by filing a lawsuit, getting the repairs done, and getting the car delivered, which then allows her to actually go and get to her job and get on with her life.
Talk about immigration. I think it's, when you look at the statistics of having an attorney, having someone there to make sure that it's done correctly versus those that don't have access, that ultimately end up having a lot of issues. Talk about the success and why that's so important.
Sure. So a lot of the cases that we've taken on at the CLC in the last couple of years are minors. So individuals who have come over here under the age of 18 who are unaccompanied. So they're not with a parent, they're not with a guardian, they're not with an aunt or uncle, they've come over the border by themselves. There's a program called Special Immigrant Juvenile Status that's available through USCIS to give those individuals lawful status here. And it's part of the United States law to do that. The statistics show that those who are represented by counsel, about 70% will end up getting that status and staying here. Those who are unrepresented by counsel, about 20% will get that status. And that's just the difference between having an attorney and not. And these individuals are children, they don't have jobs, they can't afford attorneys. So that's where the CLC staff attorneys and our pro bono staff who are already on call come in and fill a greatly needed gap.
And so let's actually talk about, you're a volunteer, so let's talk about kind of that side of it.
Sure.
Is the attorneys volunteering their time. So talk about how all this comes together.
Sure. So when you call the CLC, you'll go through an intake process, and there'll be basically a determination about what your needs are. Now we have some staff on call who are full-time staff attorneys who can assist, but they can only handle so many cases. And so we really rely on our roster of pro bono attorneys from around the city. And these are people who don't do this kind of work necessarily day in, day out, but have the skill sets to represent someone in immigration court or file a petition with USCIS or file a guardianship or conservatorship. And so we have, I think, over 100 attorneys who are ready when needed to step in and do the work that needs to be done.
Well, I think it's very cool just to know that here around the city, one, you're helping those with the need, but you also have these trained specialists that are stepping in and lending their time, their talents, their expertise to be able to make all this happen, to genuinely help. And I've got to believe, too, that just from a relational standpoint, you're sitting down, you're diving into a dark time with this individual and this family, but you're helping. So in other words, bridging the gaps, building relationships here in our own community is a whole nother element of this where you're genuinely, it's people helping people.
It is. And, lawyers sometimes get a bad rap, but we like to consider ourselves a noble profession. And so I think that most attorneys you'll find do pro bono work, whether they're recognized for it or not. This is just something that is ingrained in the profession. And so we're lucky to have an amazing community of attorneys here in Memphis who are willing to step up, and whether it's one case a year or 7 or 10 or 20, perform amazing services for these clients.
So where do we go? So website, social media, what are the places that you want us to go to learn more?
Sure. You can find us on Twitter, on Facebook. We've got a great social media presence. You can go to clcmemphis.org and you can find out all about the CLC, find our intake phone number if you want to call, and come out and visit us. We're at the MIFA building. Come and see what we're doing. Come and say hello.
See it all firsthand. Well, Matt, greatly appreciate all you do. Appreciate you coming on the show and sharing. Thanks
for having us.
The Spark Awards annually recognize and celebrate individuals and organizations that have made outstanding contributions to the community. This year's recipient of the Individual Youth Award is Matthew Stroud, whose annual bake sale benefits MIFA.
When my mom and I were driving home from the Memphis Farmers Market, I saw a homeless man standing on the sidewalk with, the usual cardboard sign, and I just sort of thought, there's all these people that need help and assistance, and they're out on the streets fending for themselves, and it would be nice to be able to do something about that. My mom asked me, after I told her that I wanted to do something, she said, well, what? And I said, well, how about a bake sale? So, yeah, that's kind of where it started.
So why MIFA? Because I think it's neat to see the partnership between MIFA.
Well, we chose MIFA because we have friends that live up the street who work at MIFA, and we know that MIFA is a trustworthy organization.
Describe this event, because it's not just a bake sale. I mean, this is an event that you put on, so describe the event.
Well, usually I think the Saturday before Thanksgiving, so in November, in our front yard we'll set up some tables and we'll have cookies and chairs, and we have to wake up early to get all set. And then Frost Bakery, the past couple years we've asked them for donations, and they've happily agreed to donate baked goods to our sale, and so that's been great. And my mom works for Hilton, and the DoubleTree branch of Hilton has these DoubleTree cookies, and they'll sometimes donate a few of those, a few dozen. And yeah, we just try to reach out and get as much help as possible.
And what does it mean to you to think that, okay, starting at age 6, you see someone standing on the road, you say, I want to help them. Then all of a sudden it's, let's start a bake sale. And now you look at, after that point, almost $10,000. What does that mean to you? What does that mean?
A lot of people say that along these years, we've lost hope in the world, but I think that there's still, people are still good-hearted, and there's always still hope for the world, always good light left, because all these people come and they know that the money is going to MIFA, and even our neighbors across the street will just come, and sometimes they won't even buy cookies, they'll just drop off a donation for a check to go to MIFA, and that makes me think that there are still a lot of really good people in this world.
They're a company specializing in commercial real estate services with a heart for giving back and helping our nonprofits. I'm here with the president and CEO of Cushman & Wakefield Commercial Advisors, Larry Jensen. We also have Greg Spilliards, who's a senior vice president of Community Advisors. Also, it's a service line for Cushman & Wakefield Commercial Advisors. So a lot of words there, but let's decipher what all that means. Let's start with you, Larry. Give us a little bit of context for what you do with Cushman & Wakefield Commercial Advisors.
Well, we're a full-service commercial real estate firm that covers a 3-state region, Arkansas, Mississippi, and Tennessee, and we provide a range of services for the commercial real estate, from property management to site acquisition to appraisal work. So just generally a commercial real estate firm that's focused in on this geography, but we also have capability through Cushman & Wakefield, which is a global company, to serve clients in 260 markets around the world.
FC3 is an important acronym. It's important for your organization. Describe what that means.
Well, FC3 is our internal guidance system, if you will. The F is for family. We're really interested in our families being taken care of in our business, healthcare, retirement. So it's a focus internally on how we care about each other. We have 60 plus employees, so I think that's probably 200 and something people, and I want to make sure they're taken care of. And they're taking care of their families. The first C is coworkers. We honor and respect each other, so we deal with our conflicts. We try to address those things. We're not perfect at this, but we're certainly committed to it. The second C is clients, first and only. That's why we come to work every day, to serve clients in the community and around the world. And then finally is community. And our guiding principle there is we're givers and not takers. That we've been greatly blessed in this community. We've been successful, and we feel like we have an obligation to give back and to be a part of the community, more than just success in business, but really to make this a place where that people live, work, and play and do well.
So let's bounce to you, Greg Spilliards. Talk about community advisor. I think when you talk about FC3 and what that means, especially on the community side, strategically, there's a huge push in this that you guys are making a huge difference with nonprofits. So describe the work you do with community advisors.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this really began for me as a personal journey. I spent 10 years in commercial real estate services, providing service on the landlord side and the tenant side, project management, property management, brokerage. And toward the end of that 10 years, I started really feeling a pull towards the local community and really seeing real estate, how it's connected to the people that benefit from the real estate. And that led into a time in seminary and a path into ordained ministry. And when I returned from seminary, I can really only describe it as a call to go back into commercial real estate and to utilize that in a way that would benefit the city. I met Larry Jensen. I stumbled through an articulation of what it was I was trying to do on a third-party real estate services platform. And surprisingly, he said, I've been wanting to do this for years. And it fits really within the FC3 model. We are an organization not of employees, but of families. We have clients that have made us really good at what we do. And so to be able to take the experience and the expertise across our platform and deliver that to 38109 zip code or to 38126 zip code as a resource for stakeholders in those neighborhoods is essentially what the community part of FC3 is all about and what Community Advisors is all about.
Community plays not just in Community Advisors, but in Cushman & Wakefield Commercial Advisors as a whole, very integral part of this. Your team is out volunteering, serving on boards, actively, heavily engaged. So talk about kind of that bigger picture of just humans getting involved, people helping people getting involved.
Well, we want to incentivize our employees to be involved in the community. And we've done that through a number of ways that if they're involved in a not-for-profit, then they've got a open door. We put about 10% of our bottom line in a fund that is for the employees to determine where that ought to go, and there's levels of participation that we want to see in them, and the more they're participating or in leadership, the greater their contribution from the company would be to that not-for-profit. And so we have a lot of people who are involved. I think of Blue Streak, for example, that's the Jubilee Schools. One of our guys, Jeb Fields, has been the president of that. And we really want to encourage our people to go find places. We allow them to have time to go do it. It's very much a part of that culture of we're givers and not takers. And I think from a company perspective, we look at the platform that we have, and we really do want the same level of quality of services applied in 38109 that we would in 38119. And it's really irrespective of whether we get paid. So it's learned that from St. Jude and from Methodists and all, and so we're trying to apply that in our little business in the community.
Greg, what, from your end, you get to see it all come together through Community Advisors, but what puts a smile on your face working with Larry and the team in terms of just that service aspect? I mean, going through the ministry and how important that is to see this team really immerse themselves in the community. What puts a smile on your face?
I can use an example, anecdotal. We work with Port Leith. Working with them to identify land in a neighborhood to put an early childhood education academy. Walking that land as it sits latent, really, with no plans for utilization, and envisioning with a team, a collaborative team coming together for a project that's going to ultimately benefit 3,700, well, it's going to have a total of 160 students in there every year and flowing right into the elementary schools. It's about not just how the physical landscape of that neighborhood has changed, the beautiful, architecturally beautiful.
I say it's an amazing building.
Campus is an amazing building, but that's only the surface. The human architecture, the human landscape that's being impacted and influenced around that. So that is what I point to as this is what it's all about. This is why we're here. This is why we're involved.
Well, Larry, tell us how we can learn more about Cushman & Wakefield Commercial Advisors, Community Advisors. Where do you send us?
We're commadv.com, and you can learn what you need to know there. And we're of course involved deeply in our community and thankful for the opportunity to share what we talked about today.
And I also want to point out you have 901 Renews on there,
That's
which
correct.
is a valuable resource. Tell viewers what 901 Renews is real fast.
901 Renews, we decided we needed to figure out what was going on in Memphis development, and so we've cataloged all of the development in Memphis, and to date, I would say that the number is over $11 billion, almost 300 projects, and we have an interactive map, 901renews.com, that you can go and see that it's broken up into categories by hotel, office, industrial. You can really look at it and slice and dice the regional development, which is pretty impressive, frankly, not from our perspective and what we've done, but in terms of the development that's going on in this community. it's sort of amazing,
I
actually.
must say community-wide. So, well, Greg, Larry, thank you for all you do, for coming on the show and sharing. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Glad to be here. Thank you.
Hard to believe, but this wraps up Season 5 and year number 5 of The Spark on WKNO. It's been an honor sharing the good and highlighting organizations, companies, schools, and individuals who are giving back and making a difference, just like we saw in this month's episode with Advance Memphis, the Community Legal Center, and Cushman & Wakefield Commercial Advisors. We say it all the time, but each and every day here in the Mid-South, there are people helping people working hard to create change and lift our city. Oftentimes, we don't see the good deeds in the 10 o'clock news or in the headlines on the front page. So it's up to us, you and me, to share the good in person and on social media, to lead by example, and to inspire others to join in the effort. So thank you for being a community champion and for watching The Spark. To learn more about each of the guests, to watch past episodes, and to share your stories of others leading by example, visit WKNO.org and click on the link for The Spark. We look forward to seeing you next month as we kick off a new season, and we hope that you'll join with us in creating a spark for the Mid-South. I hope you and your family have a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Just like having relevant and accurate information is necessary to make sound hiring and lending decisions, being engaged in our community is important. DataFax is proud to support the positives and be a sponsor of The Spark.
Lipscomb & Pitts Insurance has been serving the Mid-South since 1954. We've always focused on supporting our community and believed in promoting the positives, encouraging engagement, and leading by example. Lipscomb & Pitts is proud to be a presenting sponsor of The Spark.